I'm really delighted to be chatting with one of our roving travel reporters and his partner, Brook Sabin and Radha Engling, who 5 years ago decided to quit their jobs and sell everything up and travel the world and try and make a living from it as well. So you might be familiar with them already if you follow them on social media, and of course their work on Stuff Travel. We have their stories, their travel stories, their beautiful photography, and their incredible videos. So Brook and Radha, welcome. How are you both?
Good, thank
Really
you.
good. Wish we weren't locked down. We're with you in Auckland at the moment, but let's hope level three's coming next week.
Fingers crossed. Well, I'm very excited. At least we can still dream about travel and talk about travel. And judging by some of the questions that have already come through, there's a lot of people really interested in your travel lifestyle. So let's kick things off, starting from where it all began. What motivated you to try and learn to make a living from full-time travel?
Well, we were actually just sort of hours away from buying a house, and we had a little bit of like a late night breakdown in Wellington. And we were in our 20s and just going, do we want to go into the sort of structured life of buy a house, retirement's on the horizon, and then, death. I don't want to be too literal about the
Grim.
process, but yeah, that's pretty grim. But so we had this kind of late night breakdown where we would spent all the money getting the house ready to buy, and then we were just like, no, let's go and travel, because we hadn't done a traditional OE. So literally sort of the next day we both resigned, and then we listed everything on Trade Me, $1 reserve, and then we just bought a one-way ticket to France, and hoped for the best. And it's been a massive, massive up and down from there.
We just had one backpack each. We sold everything.
Yeah. A
Um,
tiny tent, like a tent that one person tent.
that just
And
yeah.
just thinking that we could survive on that, which didn't last very long.
So how long did it last, and what happened? What were those early days like of trying to travel full time?
Well, we started in Europe, and so we had this tent. We had a car, and we were just driving around. We didn't really have a plan. We kind of just wanted to see Europe a bit, and it kind of, I guess, Brooke, you're just very ambitious with everything, and Brooke wanted to kind of do something with it rather than just kind of go around and see everything. I guess he wanted to share it with people, so we just started filming, and yeah.
Yeah, we actually hooked up with Peugeot, the car maker in Europe, and we drove around Europe for 4 months and we made a video. So that was our kind of first taste that, hey, we're not just necessarily having a holiday, we can make money from it. And then we really kind of struggle because, Europe has got a lot of people in the travel space trying to make money. So it's really saturated. So our kind of big breakthrough came when we went down to Sri Lanka. And at that stage, back in 2016, they were still quite new to the tourism scene. And all of the hotels were just like, doesn't matter if it was five-star luxury. They were like, yes, come, you can stay here. We'll buy some photos. And that was a real turning point for us, was spending 3 months in Sri Lanka. Even though lots of things went wrong, it wasn't a romantic, we just went to five-star hotels. We had lots of like almost near-death experiences in Sri Lanka. But that was kind of the turning point about a year into the whole process where we thought, actually, we can transition from being, maybe we can make this work, to this is definitely something that we can try hard at and make it into a living.
It was kind of the start of where social media became a big thing as well. I mean, it was already quite big, but during that time it was kind of snowballing, and so we kind of hooked into that and played with it a little bit too, which people just love, and they kind of, rather than hiring the traditional kind of professional photographer, they just looked for people that kind of had that kind of unique eye, that had kind of different ideas to kind of shooting just detail shots. Just, yeah, I don't know. I
Yeah.
guess it's just a point of difference that we had.
So on the outside, I mean, this sounds incredibly glamorous to those perhaps who have not worked in the industry, being paid to travel the world. But as we both know, as travel writers, that's not quite the case. So tell me a little bit about the work day. What would it really look like?
Well, a really good example, and this kind of pains me. We were lucky enough before COVID to go to the Maldives for a month, and we had 27 days in overwater resorts, which was just like incredibly privileged, amazing. But I only got in the water twice in the whole 27 days because I have like, it's a strength, but it's also a massive issue. I'm just totally focused on work. So, I mean, it's an amazing place to be sitting on your laptop out over water. But I was so focused on where we were going next, which was Singapore at that stage. What content can we, I think it's important. People don't want to pay you to travel. You've really got to earn your mark, come up with unique ideas, get better and better at your skill, be it photography or video. So we were just really in that early stage of trying to get as good as we can. And, so we're up early in the morning. We're always shooting sunrise and sunset because that's the best time of day for photography or video. And then we will jump on our laptops and write stories. So we do a lot of content for stuff. We provide a lot of content for hotels, airlines, tourism boards. So we're working through that. And then we'll do more video during the day, sunset shooting, and then we work sort of late into the night. So there's sort of this romantic, even my family think it, they think that we're sitting on the beach all the time, and we're not. We're really, really not. But I mean, that's not, it's a kind of myth, but it's one that we've both come to peace with, that it's not a lifestyle where you go and sit on beaches for 99% of social influencers or people that work in this field. If you've got millions and millions of followers, perhaps you can go and get a photo on the beach and that's enough for your day. But for the rest of us, that's certainly not the case. And it is hugely competitive. So you've just got to keep ahead of everyone.
So on that, in terms of your photography and your videos, which are just absolutely beautiful and stunning, we've got one of the questions here. What gear do you use?
So we've got 2 Sony cameras. We've got a drone, or one standard drone and one FPV drone that sort of does the stunts and the really interesting stuff. And then we've got a 360 camera and a GoPro. And I think that sounds like a lot for the average person. We certainly didn't start with that. But
yeah, we just started with a GoPro, and we had a drone, didn't we?
No, we didn't even have a drone.
Not for the first couple of months. We didn't have a drone. So it was basically just a GoPro and a camera that we had, we did everything
and
with.
We would literally put our phone on a tripod to make people think we had a drone. Like, not the audience, but to make people we were working with, think that we've got a drone. So it's, you can do...
Did they fall for that as well?
What's that, sorry?
Did they seem to fall for it? It looked impressive still.
Yeah. They did.
Well, the Brook's referring to a time when we were in Korea, and obviously you can't fly a drone
in the central
Seoul.
city.
So we got our tripod and extended it way out as far as it could go, and put our phone onto a gimbal on top of the tripod, so it was even longer. And Brook walked through this crowd of people in the middle of Seoul, holding it way above everyone.
Complete idiot.
So it would look like a drone kind of flying down the street. But we got weird looks, but it got an amazing shot. So.
But people were messaging us, "Oh, you can't fly a drone. You've broken the law. We're going to report you." And we actually filmed the tripod that we used so that we could have that, because it did look like a drone shot.
So how long do you spend then on piecing it all together and editing your footage? Because you must have hours of footage from each trip that you do.
Yeah, a lot. So I'm a journalist by background and Radha's a flight attendant, and I had zero clue. I've had zero formal training at video editing. So we just learned from this amazing university called the University of YouTube, and it's all free, and you just go on there, and literally the first video I ever done took the best part of it. We did it while we were in Sri Lanka, the car video. That took every night and big parts of the days. For one video took me 3 months to edit, and now I can do it in about a couple of hours. Like,
less.
If it's urgent, I can do it in like an hour. So yeah, it's just a process, and I think people need to, if they're wanting to go down this track, sort of acknowledge that you're going to start not really understanding what to do, and we don't we've still got so much to learn. We're 1% of where we want to be, and it's just a massive learning process along the way. It's kind of iterative.
Speaking of that learning process, and this is quite a good question that's come through from Mel. So what do you know now that you wish you knew at the start?
A big thing that we wish we knew was the power of social media. At the beginning, we did do a little bit of it, but nowhere near as much as we should have. And do you want to talk about TikTok?
Yeah. So Radha runs our TikTok at the moment. And that's been kind of a game changer for us because,
it's just the beginning kind of TikTok.
Yeah. And, TikTok is a new platform. People think it's just about dancing, and it's not.
And young people.
I'm about as cool as this pen, but we've still managed to get more than 100,000 followers on TikTok. So anyone, what I'm saying is anyone can do it. And it's just about travel. We don't dance in it. And Radha makes amazing videos that go up on TikTok all the time. And that's, if you look at social media, it's like, I like to call them planets. YouTube is a very old planet. Everyone's gone there. They've colonized the planet. TikTok is a really new planet. And if you want to get in there and grow social media at the moment, head to TikTok. And, all social media platforms age up. Like Facebook started off as a dating platform, and now, all of our grandparents are on there. And that's not a criticism. That's just, the way that platforms age up.
And I think what Brook said before about, okay, I lost my train of thought. Never mind, go ahead.
That's okay. So this is another question. Obviously, at the moment, as we know, the borders are closed, and the last year and a half or so has been an interesting time for working in travel. Here's a question from Steve. What are you doing now you can't travel?
A lot.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
We are super lucky to have a nice place to be in during lockdown. And I mean, when we come back from trips, we usually have maybe 1 or 2 days at home before we go on to the next trip again. And in those 2 days, it's incredibly frantic, where Brook has to write articles and I'm editing photos and we're doing videos, and it's just really crammed. And we don't have much time for kind of extra little projects. We kind of put them all on the back burner, but now with lockdown, we're able to do everything a bit more calmly and
we're always on the brink of a meltdown. So lockdown just brings us back from the brink. And I think it's been so fascinating. Like we've been to like Cambodia and glamping and stuff like that in Cambodia, and there's only a very small section of a New Zealand audience that are interested in that kind of thing. Whereas now all of us are focused on New Zealand. So if we're going camping in the Waikato or Queenstown, all of a sudden there's so much more interest. So I think, COVID's actually been really good in that, the spotlight on New Zealand has become so much sharper, and there's so much more interest in it.
Yeah, it's been amazing travelling around our own country so much. We're so lucky here.
That leads on to another question that we've got through here. What's your favourite place in New Zealand?
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, it's such a hard question because, I mean, we get asked this a lot around the world as well. I mean, like I just said, we're so lucky to live in New Zealand, so I have many favourite places, but one place that I particularly like is Great Barrier Island. We went there recently, maybe a year ago, I think, and yeah, it's beautiful. It's a really magical place. It's what Waiheke Island was many, many years ago. So yeah, I suggest you go and check it out if you can before it turns into a really popular spot.
And I really like, I grew up in Northland, and I'd never been to the Poor Knights until we'd travelled around the world. And that's bad, because the Poor Knights, it's got a tropical current that comes down past Australia. So it's got a lot of tropical fish that you won't find anywhere else in New Zealand. And it felt like we had better snorkeling in the Poor Knights than I've had in like Fiji and Thailand and Vanuatu. It's such a treasure. And if you haven't been there, I would definitely recommend going there. And I also love the East Cape. You know, we went on a road trip around there, and there were cows on the beach. I have not seen that in any country other than India. Cows on the road. There, people were riding horses, like kids were riding horses to school. It just felt like another country, and I felt like I was traveling overseas again. Yeah, such a charming place.
There are so many beautiful places in New Zealand, and I agree about Poor Knights. It's one of my favourite places. I'm a scuba diver, and yeah, the marine life there is absolutely, it's outstanding. It really is a world-class site. So obviously with you guys, the work that you do, a lot of the places that you go to, you have to share with your audience, with your followers. So one of the questions that we've got here is, if you had to holiday in New Zealand without filming it, where would you go?
Everywhere. Just hire a camper.
I would go to the nearest cliff and chuck my laptop off it and chuck my phone and just go and be peaceful. Yeah, I really like, I mean, it sounds cliche, but I really like Queenstown. Yeah. And there are so many good deals for Kiwis at the moment. And I think one of our favourite trips has been the Fly Cruise Fly in Queenstown. So that's the one where you take off from Queenstown Airport, you fly over the Southern Alps into Milford Sound, which is the most beautiful airport in the country, and could close actually, so get in and do this trip. And then you go on the ferry trip, and then you fly back over. You're all done in like 4 hours. You get to see the best of everything. And it's heavily discounted at the moment. I think it's like $230 off compared to the pre-COVID prices. So there's amazing opportunities to do things in Queenstown that we ordinarily wouldn't have to do. So
especially with not as many tourists at the moment, it's
make the most of it. You know, we're never going to have a chance to see Milford Sound again, just us,
just Kiwis.
Yeah, I mean, I've been there before COVID, and there are tens of thousands. It's like an amusement park, and you go there now, and we didn't see one bus when we went there. It was kind of like, it was almost Chernobyl-like, but in a beautiful way.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, I love Queenstown, and yeah, there are so many beautiful places that we need to make the most of being able to visit while we can. But of course, one of the questions that's on everybody's mind is what's going to happen next year. And so we have another question here from Joe. What do you think will happen with travel for New Zealanders next year?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. And I think we're going to have a lot of Pacific Islands come on green bubble flights, so things like Niue, Vanuatu, the Cook Islands. I don't think Fiji is going to be anytime soon, because they seem to be siding with Australia and places like because they've got the outbreak currently, and you know, they may join with New South Wales and Victoria, places like that. So that's a big population for them to feed into, which would categorize them as medium risk countries. So I think it's going to depend on, you know, our appetite for risk as a country, and at the moment we just don't have much appetite. But I think next year we'll have more of a conversation as a country about letting the virus go without having lockdowns. And if we get to that point, I think travel, I'm not saying it's the right strategy, but if we get to that point, I think many more countries could open up, like places like Singapore, Taiwan, you know, Vietnam, places like that. But it's just going to depend on the risk appetite for the country, and that conversation that we're not really having as a country at the moment.
Yeah.
So going back to your planning and how you plan your trips and plan your travels for work, we've got another question here. Do businesses invite you first, or do you seek them?
At first, it was us seeking them. a lot of emails. Please.
We're homeless at the moment. Would you like to have us?
And then it kind of became a little bit of both, and I guess it's still a little bit of both. We are approached a lot now, so I think it's mostly people asking us, and then occasionally if there's something that we really want to do, Brook really wants to write a story about, then we will approach them. But I think at the moment it's mostly we are asked. Yeah.
And I would, just a tip for anyone that's watching that really wants to get into this, you know, if you look, I'll try and make this as quick as possible, but if if you look previously, all content was controlled by TV, radio, and print. And now everyone, hotels, airlines, backpackers, they've all got this ability to make content. So there's this enormous demand. So if I was wanting to get into it, I would just approach as many people as you can. And at the start, I would say, can I come for a free night? I'll make you a video, or I'll put a video on my social media. And that just gets you experience, and that gets you testimonials with certain hotels. And then you can sort of develop that and then ask for payment. And then you'll start getting a reputation, and people will start coming to you. So it's just kind of like that process that you go through. But there's just so much opportunity at the moment with everyone needing content. If you don't make content in 2021, you're invisible. So we're kind of like in a gold rush of content, and I think people just need to get out there and find that gold.
When starting off, though, I'm guessing there must be a reasonable amount of perhaps rejection until you build a following and an audience. Can you tell us about some of your experiences with that?
Definitely.
I mean, is this a therapy session?
We had many nights in a tent in Europe.
Yeah. Oh. You have to develop a thick skin. I think, a hit rate at the start was probably 1 in 100, and literally no one was saying yes at the start. And do you remember who the first one was?
For us to be in Europe as well, and
it's
for
expensive.
2 Kiwis to kind of ask and say, we can do this and this in English, especially in places like Italy, in the country in Italy, they're like, who are these people? What a photo's not going to do. We've got photos. Why?
Some people were really rude, and they were just like, no. Nothing else.
Yeah,
I mean, fair enough.
Horrible.
They get it, probably a lot of them.
Yeah.
But do you remember the first place that...
Villa dei Papiri?
Yep. This random B&B.
For Brook's birthday. And Brook was really upset that I didn't get anything for his birthday. Except for a card.
Yeah, this is the brutal reality here, okay? When you're travelling and you're first starting out, you have no extra cash for things like money. So.
And I thought a free hotel that we had to do a photo shoot would be enough, but...
So we stayed at this B&B in the middle of nowhere, but we were so happy it was like our first job. And, I mean...
It was bizarre. There were no guests there. It was just, I'm not sure if many guests ever stayed there, but it was a nice place.
Yeah, it was nice.
And we got some really nice photos. Yeah.
But I think the most important thing people need to know is your hit rate is 1 in 100. And don't just be like everyone else and send examples, show your value.
Even if you can't travel at the moment, we live in an amazing country, and everyone's backyard has got their own special, unique things that you can share that other people will be incredibly interested in, even if it seems normal to you. So yeah. I think everyone has an opportunity to create some kind of content.
There must be times, though, when you felt tempted to throw it all away or give up. What's pushed you through, or what's helped you get through those challenging times where you've just gone, oh, I'm fed up, let's quit and go back to our normal day jobs?
Each other.
Yeah, normally one of us is near the cliff of giving up, and we pull each other back. But there has been a couple of times where we're both like, because just having the security of a paycheck that is going to come in every week, and it's also, there's a lot of pressure, in your 20s and going into your 30s. There's a lot of societal pressure to follow a path that everyone takes, or most people take. And, when we announced that we were leaving and stuff, we used to get emails and messages saying, you'll never get into a house, you're throwing away your life and all that kind of stuff. And that's actually really, mentally tough to sort of break through that kind of stuff. But I remember we did a 100-day road trip around New Zealand over summer in an electric car for stuff, which was an amazing experience. And between Napier and Gisborne, so I've got to watch. It was 100 days, 100 stories was the challenge, and I've got to watch that tracks my sleep. And we were down to like less than 4 hours a night of sleep. So we were driving filming, filing, creating videos every night and planning ahead and then doing the next day from sunrise every morning. And we got between Napier and Gisborne, and we were both so tired that none of us could drive, and we were really close to a meltdown then. So we were late for the next thing. Like, people were waiting for us in Gisborne, and we were nowhere near Gisborne. You know, we had stories to file. We were on the side of the road. We couldn't drive. We were like nearly passing out.
We had like a 5 a.m. start for the next day too.
Yeah.
Really...
And we were just on the side of the road, and I think we were both close to just being like, that's it. We're giving up. It has to end somewhere. But
so we had a little nap, and then it was all okay.
So sleep is an amazing pill. So we had a sleep on the side of the road, and we're like, we can be late. We're going to be really late. And we just went to sleep and woke up after a big truck came by, and we're like, okay, let's just do this.
Yeah, we're lucky to have each other. I think sorry again. Yeah.
No, I'm saying, like, it is you've got each other, which must push you through those challenging times. But there must also be some challenges working and traveling all the time as a couple. Do you want to share some of the inside goss that we might not know about the difficulties of working together?
Yeah, definitely. We've been together for many years.
We've been together since
13,
high school.
14 years.
So,
and we're very different. We're almost polar opposites in every way, which is good, but it's also bad.
Yeah. Sometimes we have creative differences. But, like, I'm really boring. I'm a journalist by background. And Radha brings, like, if it was up to me, our content would be in a really sad place. Radha brings such a good eye to stuff, and an interesting eye, and how we can make it relevant to people, whereas I'm a political reporter by background, so I have everything through a kind of really strategic sort of lens. Yeah, so we definitely complement each other, but you know, it's a struggle not a struggle, but it's a challenge on a relationship. I mean, we are together
24/7, and we are together 24/7.
Yeah.
So it's like I guess the hardest part about it is to put defining a line between the work part and the life part, which there's not really a line.
Where is that line? Yeah. And I mean, if you put Gandhi and Mother Teresa together 5 years on the road, I think they're even going to argue, you know? So it has definitely had its ups and downs in terms of being a struggle. But what is amazing is because we're so different, we always kind of pull each other out with our own ways. And we've got
just different ways of looking at things, and I guess that's a strength in a way, especially with photography and videos and things.
Absolutely. It's all about compatibility, wasn't it? I think it would stretch any couple doing what you guys are doing. So well done. Another question from our audience, from Brenda this time. What country do you miss the most?
For me, it's Switzerland. It's kind of a second home for me. My father is Swiss, so I've got grandparents there. So that's, Switzerland for me.
And I like the Maldives, and I know people are going to be like, oh, Maldives. But I think the main message I would say for Kiwis is it's way more affordable than you think. You've just got to look, there's those headline resorts that are like $5,000 a night or something. But there's actually, really affordable, because the Maldives before COVID had 160 resorts, and there was one new resort going up every month. So they were hugely competitive, and you could get better deals going to the Maldives than you could for Fiji for Kiwis. And I think that presented a really good opportunity to do that once in a lifetime, stay over water. And it's way more affordable than Fiji, Samoa or Tahiti, where you can stay over water as well.
And a lot more affordable than the Seychelles as well, and nicer.
Yeah.
If you were to...
It's kind of like everyone at some stage in their life, or a lot of people will want the kind of like a honeymoon or a big anniversary or something like that. And I think we've written stories on Stuff actually about how affordable the Maldives is. You can even get rooms for like $80 or $90 a night if you stay on a local island. So there's, that's my kind of favourite place, because you just get in the water and you see so much wildlife like sharks and manta rays, and it's just all there. It's kind of like what you hoped the world would be.
Yeah, and it is changing quickly. The first time we went there was in 2018.
No, 2012. We went there really early.
That's right, yeah, 2012, and I remember going snorkeling, and the coral was just incredible. It was so colourful. And then the most recent time we went was maybe about 3 years ago, and it's already changed a lot just in that small amount of time. So add it to your list.
Absolutely. I can feel my heart bursting with the excitement and longing for when the world opens up again and we can go and visit these incredible places. We'll just do one more question before we have to wrap up, and maybe you can both answer this individually. One tip for anyone who wants to learn how to make a living by traveling the world, what would it be?
Yeah, I would. The first thing I would do is start a TikTok account, and don't think about it being a dancing platform or anything like that. And just start going. If you're in New Zealand, start going down the road to your local beach that might be a secret, and start making content while no one's watching. So it doesn't matter if it's not that great. And then, as I explained before, I would start emailing hotels and saying, I'm going to make this little video. Here's an example. Can we, what's the word I'm looking for? Collaborate. Can we collaborate? I'm not a social influencer, as you can tell. And then I would just build from there. So I would just vertical video. Instagram said not long ago that they are not focusing on pictures anymore. They are focusing more on video. So we live in an era of, 15-second or even like 5-second to 1 minute vertical videos on your phone where the world is at the moment.
And you don't need a big laptop with a video editor. You can do it all on your phone. There's so many different apps that you can use now that make it super easy. So it's becoming, technology is your best friend. It's becoming easier and easier, and everything's getting smaller and more advanced. So
yeah, all you need is a phone, and you can start making content. And make lots. If one of your videos gets 2 views, make another one. If it gets 3, make another one. The next one might get 6. The cumulative effect of making 1,000 videos is you'll get there. But most people stop after making 4 because nothing happened.
It's a great lesson in not giving up and continuing to be inspired by the world and coming up with new ideas. I'd love to stay and chat more about travel. I think we've still got questions that we haven't been able to get to answer, but we will have to wrap things up. But thank you both, Brook and Radha, for joining us. You can follow you guys on social media if you want to give yourselves a little bit of a social media plug.
Absolutely. Are you going to charge us for this?
I will. Yeah, you're on the clock.
Our escape video. Yeah. Our travel account that we love posting all our travel things to, that is kind of not all about us, so you don't need to
it's
worry
not
about our faces
not
and things
about
like
us.
that. It's called Escape Video, and on Instagram it's @Escape Video and then an underscore. And on TikTok it's escape.video.
And then mine is Brook Sabin.
Personal.
No
personal,
E. Brook Sabin and Radha Engling. Oh, what?
No, Global Admirer.
Global Admirer. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. And of course, you can see all of their incredible work at Stuff Travel, their videos, their stories, and their beautiful photos. So thanks, guys. Thanks so much for joining.
Thank
you.